The best copywriting tips is what we're talking about today. I am going to show you an example. We're going to dive deep into some examples of these copywriting tips, and I'm going to show you how one person used it to persuade millions, hundreds of millions of people. Even though this guy wasn't a copywriter, he was one of the most persuasive people on the planet. Now, before I reveal who it is and dive into the examples, let's go ahead and dive into a little bit about what you're going to discover. So let's check this out. The first thing we're going to talk about is the not method, all right? So you never lose another reader again. This simple method targets the chemicals inside your prospect's brain, so they must know more and they have to keep reading or watching. The next thing is what to do with your numbers in a promotion, sales letter, video sales letter, and this includes the prices, so you never sabotage your conversions. Oftentimes, many copywriters, they start throwing numbers up, loses the reader, and kills conversions. Next, we're going to dump into why you're likely confusing your readers and killing sales. It's the second tip in today's video. And the last thing we're going to talk about is a 5-step formula to persuade nearly anyone to buy. And I have to tell you, only A-list copywriters know step number 5. So let's go ahead and dive in and get to the copywriting tips. Here we go. All right, now that you know what we're going to cover, let me reveal the person that we're going to be talking about and the examples that we're going to take a deep dive into. So the person we're going to be talking about and the examples I'm going to show you were given in a presentation by Steve Jobs. He was one of the most brilliant, persuasive people on the planet. And even though he wasn't classified as a copywriter, the stuff he uses in his copy is extremely persuasive. And I'm going to show you how you can use things that he was using that I've seen A-list copywriters use as well, that most people don't know these secrets. And I'm going to show you how to use it inside your copy. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to dive into a clip that he gave, a presentation he gave revealing the iPod. All right, this is an old clip before there were iPads, before all the new Macs. It was the very first iPod. So check this out and watch and listen how he does this. I'm going to show you some awesome secrets.
We lured you here today with the promise of unveiling a breakthrough digital device that's not a Mac. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
All right, so notice what he did there. I call it what it's not. See, he said, we've lured you here with the promise of unveiling a breakthrough digital device that's not a Mac. Now, what happens with our readers and viewers, if you're doing a video sales letter or something like that, if they think they can guess what it is, they just assume that's what it is and they're gone. So, for example, if Steve Jobs would have just jumped up and been like, hey, we've lured you here with the promise of unveiling a breakthrough digital device, people would go, it's a Mac, and they would kind of just stop listening. They'd be like, whatever, no big deal. I don't want to know more. So what he did is said, that's not a Mac. And so people then creates this curiosity, right? It gets this dopamine going in our brains, and we're like, oh, we got to know what it is. And they start guessing, and when they can't, it doesn't work. That's the power of it. Like I could say something like, I'm going to show you a simple secret to double the conversions on all your sales letters. Hint, it's not headlines, it's not bullet points, it's not the PS line. And you're like, whoa, what could it be? Like, what is it? Man, I'm really interested. And you have to keep going. It's called the what it's not method. And you should use it as often as you possibly can. Anytime that you think your readers or viewers are going to start guessing what it is and they might guess what it is, then show them what it's not, and you're going to see, the dopamine start flowing in your prospects and readers, and they're going to have to keep going because they're going to be curious. They want that open loop closed, and it's a very powerful method. So use it and use it often, I should say, but don't overdo it. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So jump into this clip, and I'll be back right with you. All right, pay close attention. Here we go.
So let's look at portable music. Let's look at the landscape. The first thing, if you want to listen to music portably, you can go out and buy a CD player, right? That's one way to go, about 10 to 15 songs. Or you can buy a flash player. Go out and buy one of those. You can buy a MP3 CD player, or you can buy a hard disk-based jukebox player. These are the 4 choices for portable music right now.
So notice in the first little section of that clip there I showed you, he didn't really do anything special. He just said, here's your options. You can buy, this, or this. There's nothing really crazy there. And this is what most copywriters do, is they just toss out like, hey, here's the basic info of the product. But watch what he does next. This is the most powerful part, where he takes this, and it's what I call dimensionalize. And it's extremely powerful, and I'm going to show you how to use it just in a sec. So watch this.
So let's take a look at each one of those. A CD player costs about $75, holds 10 to 15 songs on a CD. That's about $5 a song. You can go buy a flash player, pay about double that, about $150, holds the same 10 to 15 songs, or about $10 a song. You can go buy an MP3 CD player, and an MP3 CD, which you can burn on your computer, costs about $150, but holds 150 songs. So you get down to $1 a song. Or you can go buy a hard drive jukebox player for about $300. It holds about 1,000 songs and costs about 30 cents a song. So we looked at this and studied all these, and that's where we want to be. That is where we want to be.
All right, so the first section he just showed you the typical choices in the market. It's like the typical approach that we normally take, right? And then in that second little clip there, he shows you the price. But he didn't just say, hey, here's a CD player, it's $75 or whatever. He takes it another level. See, most copywriters would stop there and say, oh, you can buy the course for, $300, or you can buy my product for whatever. But notice what he does. He used this technique called dimensionalize, and he took it entirely further. He broke it down to the price, and then he broke it all the way down to the price per song. I mean, and you saw one there. He was like, you can buy a hard disk driver or whatever it was. I mean, this is old. It's when we released the first iPod. So he's like, it's $300, and it holds 1,000 songs. That's 30 cents a song. So the consumer is like, oh man, that's a bargain. So they've made the numbers make sense to the reader, in this case to the watcher, but now they have a logical justification for it, to where we are going, oh man, that's awesome. 30 cents a song. I'm all about that. That's super cheap. And then you start to see the other ones, because at first sight, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? You're like, oh, a CD player is $75, and a disk driver is $300. That's a big price increase. Like, I can't afford that. And then they go, but it holds more songs. And you're like, oh, well, that's kind of good. But then they show you the next part, and it shows it's actually cheaper. It's a better value for you to spend more money. It's a really cool dimensionalization process. And you can do this with lots of different copy. It works awesome in financial copy. It works great for price justifications, because you could say, hey, with this course you get, it's $300 and you get X number of modules, and now you're only paying X number of dollars per module. If it's some other service, you can do it that way. Like this case, it was a CD player and a disk driver. You could do it in financial copy, where you could say, hey, if you started with, you're going to make 300%. Well, that is a difficult number. And so you could break that down. You could say, so if you started with $1,000 and you invested in $1,000 and you made 300%, you would make X. And then you could say, but if you started with $10,000, and you made 300%, you would make X. Now we've dimensionalized the number, and we've made it make sense to the watcher and or the reader. So it's a very powerful technique. So see how you can use it with numbers in your copy, because numbers are confusing. And if your reader gets confused or your watcher gets confused, they're out. So make sure the numbers are simple, they make sense, and do the math for the people, because people struggle with math. It's called dimensionalization, and it's something that you can use in your copywriting just like Steve Jobs used in his. So now it's time to move on to the 5-step formula. This is a world-class formula. You can use it in almost any copywriting type, whether it be a Facebook ad or a sales letter. It's very powerful in sales letters. You can use it in email. So we're going to go ahead and check out Steve Jobs' video and see how he does it. And I'm going to take you step by step by step. So right now, let's check out the very first step in the 5-step formula. So watch this. I'll be right back with you.
What is iPod? iPod is an MP3 music player, has CD quality music, and it plays all of the popular open formats of digital music: MP3, MP3 variable bitrate, WAV, and AIFF.
All right, so the very first part of the formula it's the simple stuff. It's what Steve Jobs just did, right? He explained what is an iPod because it was a breakthrough device. So he was explaining what is this iPod and kind of the features. That's all he did was really explain the features. And so you can do this very same thing. It's the basic info. Now watch what he does next because it becomes very powerful. He goes from features to this next thing. Check it out.
But the biggest thing about iPod is it holds 1,000 songs. Now this is a quantum leap because for most people, it's their entire music library.
So there it was. What he said was he explained what it meant. He didn't just say like, here's a benefit, but he said, here's what it means, right? It's 1,000 songs. And for most people, it's your entire music library. Now it's changed because now people have thousands and thousands and thousands of songs, but then it was this breakthrough thing. So the formula is to start with basic info, then take that basic info and show the person what it means to have it. It's really a benefit, but then he takes it from a benefit to something even more powerful, more visual, and more in-depth. So take a look at what it is.
This is huge. How many times have you gone on the road with a CD player and said, oh God, I didn't bring a CD I wanted to listen to? To have your whole music library with you at all times is a quantum leap in listening to music.
All right, so you caught that there, right? So you went from basic info to what it means, which is your entire music library. But then he points out the problem. So he showed what was cool, but then he kind of twisted the knife. He pointed out the problem. He said, how many times have you gone on a road trip and you don't have the song you wanted, or you go here and you don't have the CD you wanted, or you're missing it? And then he goes back to the benefit. He says, you have your entire music library with you at all times. So the formula goes like this. What is it that you're selling? The basic info. What it means to have it. So, what would it be to me? Like paint some sort of a picture for me. Point out the problem that they were experiencing. Go back to how powerful it is to have this new thing and how it solves that problem. And then here comes the next step. I'm going to show you what it is right now.
The coolest thing about iPod is that your entire music library fits in your pocket. Okay? You can take your whole music library with you right in your pocket. Never before possible. So that's iPod.
All right, so there's the last step in this 5-step formula. He drops an analogy and he gets you to grasp the advantage. That's the real power in this. So the basic thing is what is it? Explain some basic info about it, some features, what it means to have it in your life. You point out the problem that you're experiencing and how the thing benefits you and paint that picture of what my life will be like after, and then drop the analogy. The analogy he uses is so incredibly powerful. He gets you to really grasp the advantage. He goes, it's 1,000 songs in your pocket. Now we can visualize that. We're like, wow. And the whole time, see how visual this process is? You start this very vague, like kind of not emotional experience. You're like, okay, what is it? Okay, great. There's some basic info about it. Like, great, it plays this and that. But then he goes, man, it's 1,000 songs. It's your entire music library. How many times have you gone on a road trip and you didn't have this song or didn't have that song? Well, now you have your entire music library with you at all times. It's having 1,000 songs in your pocket. And he just kept building and building and building and building till the finally very end, you really grasp the advantage, which is I have 1,000 songs in my pocket. So that's one of the most powerful 5-step formulas you could ever use when you're explaining or doing anything inside your copy, using video sales letters, emails, whatever you want. So again, what it is tell them what it is. Hey, it's an iPod. Explain some basic information about it, what it means to use it, the problem that you've been experiencing and how it solves it, and then get them to grasp the advantage, like saying something like, it's 1,000 songs in your pocket. It's your entire music library with you at all times. So I hope you enjoyed these copywriting tips with our man Steve Jobs and the launch, or I guess it would be a launch presentation of the iPod. I don't even know. It might have been year 2000. It's old is what that one is. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more help from me or want to work with me and you want to write world-class sales letters, I'll help you do that. I'll help you learn it, and I will show you exactly step-by-step how to do it. In fact, I have a system called the QRC system. If you want to read more about it, head over to copyskillswithaz.com/letter, as in sales letter. And you can check that out. You can read all about it. You can read how an airline pilot actually inspired me to create this process and how I've used this process to sell hundreds of thousands of dollars of different things. Again, head over to copyskills.com/letter. And if you want a big, huge, giant book of swipes that you can use for inspiration and ideas, head over to copyskills.com/big book. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you on the next one. So long.